public hearing today for presentation of judiciary and JSC budget. So I will take you through the JSC budget, just waiting to see whether it's displayed. Okay, thank you. So we'll just go through a very short presentation from Judicial Service Commission, where we're also looking at the same outline that my colleague has used in terms of, we look at who JSC is, because these are some of the aspects where we continue to educate the public in terms of our mandate and what we do as an institution. We'll also go through, in the last 3 financial years, you know, the government does, of course, MTEP, which is a rolling budget. And we look at what we achieved with the money that the public gave us, or the money that taxpayers gave us in the last 3 financial years. What did we implement? We look at the proposals for the next financial year, specifically 2025, 2026, and any challenges that we've encountered or as we continue with this budget making. So that will be just the outline of the presentation that we have today. So Judicial Service Commission, this is an independent commission or an independent institution which is established under Article 171 of the Constitution, and specifically to undertake 6, the mandate or the functions that are outlined in the Constitution, apart from, of course, the other functions as you continue to implement. So 1 specifically is to recommend to the President persons for appointment of judges. So all judges in our courts, where you see the high courts, the courts of equal status, the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, all of them have to go through the recruitment process from the Judicial Service Commission before the same is recommended to the President, because that the President is the one who is given in the Constitution to appoint. Then the second one is to review and make recommendations, issues on the condition of service of judges, judicial officers. Judges and judicial officers will talk about apart from their remuneration, because their remuneration is actually set by SRC and then the staff of the judiciary and JSC. The third function is to appoint. We appoint registrars, magistrates, and other judicial officers, and of course all the staff of the judiciary. So, which means if you have the role of appointment, you'll also have the role of discipline in case, of course, performance reward and discipline in case of any issues that is raised or complaints that we get from the public or from whichever place. So the fourth one is to prepare and implement programs for continuing education. We know with the changing landscape, there are so many things that come in our country, new things that come in, and it means that our judges and our judicial officers are supposed to be trained so that they are able to deliver that justice with the current information that they have, or the current, so that they are also up to speed to what is happening in the world. So the fifth one is to advise the government on improving efficiency, or that is improving the efficiency of the administration of justice. So that in case there is anything that the government can intervene, well, as a commission to give those advisories. And then lastly, to receive and consider petitions for removal of judges from the office of a judge. Because we're saying once you go through the process, so in case of any complaint or any petition that we receive from the public, then we have to investigate, and if we go through the process, investigate, and of course, if it's really found that it has grounds, then the same can be, will be taken to the President for formation of a tribunal so that you can complete the process of removal. As a commission, what is our vision? Our vision is the Commission of Excellence in promoting and facilitating an independent and accountable judiciary. So the key word there is that independent and accountable judiciary. And I believe that is when you are knowing now why we have to, like we are presenting these budgets together, because you see at the end of it all, we are the oversight or institution. We're in charge of a number of things, making sure human resource, making sure there is efficiency and effectiveness. So the mission is to promote an independent and accountable judiciary by providing oversight, We do capacity building and constructive stakeholder engagement. And all this, you'll be able to see as we continue presenting what we have here today, so that you can look at, because all these are aligned to our function, aligned to our provisions in the JSE strategic plan. And this is where we derive our budget. At the end of it all, from the functions that we have, then the strategic plan, where we are implementing a strategic plan which ran from 2022 to 2027. And it has the 5 outcomes or the results that we envisage to get. And one is efficient, effective, accountable, and transformative administration of justice. We are also aiming to have a motivated, professional, dynamic, and of course responsive judicial officers and judicial staff, so that the public or the citizens can be able to get the service that they require. Then we have also an outcome of sustainable funding, funding and sound financial management, so that apart from funding, can we be able to also use the resources that we have prudently. That is for now the Commission and Judiciary, and then increase public confidence and trust and strengthen institutional capacity. So those are the outcomes that are under our strategic plan and which the Commission is implementing. So the budgeting process is what my colleague has already indicated, just following the normal government process on the same. So we have, as a Commission, we have one program, judicial oversight, and then 2 sub-programs, which is administration and judicial services, which is implemented by the Secretariat, and then judicial training. We have a whole institution, which is called Kenya Judiciary Academy. And that is an institution that is in charge with making sure that they develop programs, they undertake training for our judges and judicial officers. All of them operate under that 1/4 of JSE. So as we are a public institution, how are we accountable to the public? Even this being one form of accountability to the public. So Commission is alive to the requirement of ensuring that the judiciary and of course the Commission is transparent and accountable to the public. And what have we done? We put systems in place to ensure there is transparency and accountability. Some of the systems that we put is establishment of committees. We have a finance committee and specifically an audit, governance, and risk management committee. So what the finance committee does is they do approve the budget for judiciary and JSE, and this is as per the provision of JS Act, section 29. And all this is at the end of it all to review, so that we ensure that all this budget is of course prioritized to the core mandate, whatever is going to touch the public and the citizen. Then we do this also through monitoring of the budget. So on quarterly basis, JSE as Secretariat and Judiciary presents our budget performance to the Commission. That way they are able to review, and if case there is anything that we need to reorganize or refocus the institution, that is where we get the advisory. So, and then propose risk management strategies to ensure that at the end of it all, if there are any audit report, to ensure that no resources are lost, and each and every one of us is accountable for the resources that we are given by the public. And of course, having that function of complaints and disciplinary process, that is also one of the ways. So we ensure that those are some of the systems that the Commission has put in place. Then this is a small section of, just wanted to encourage the public that we get the feedback, whatever the feedback we get from these public hearings. We, as an institution, as a Commission, as a judiciary, we get them and we are able to, what we are able to implement, we implement. What we are able to include in our budget immediately, we take those feedback seriously, and we ensure. This is a summary of public hearing feedback that we got in the last financial year, and of course what we've done. So we've just classified on 4 areas. One was recruitment of judges and judicial officers. There was a long concern when we went round to the 5 places, regions where we concern in terms of increasing the number of judges, increasing the number of judicial officers and staff. And during the last financial year, specifically last financial year, at least we recommended 27 judges for recruitment, appointed around 446 judicial officers and 433 judicial staff. Then another concern by the public was the issue of really case backlog in terms of reduction. How are we reducing the case backlog? So to address this concern, the commission, there was Judiciary and the commission, they developed a caseload policy, which the commission approved. And in this policy, it had measures specifically in terms of how to measure the progress in dispensation of justice and provide information of efficiency of judiciary policies and programs. So the other issues is the approved charges and judicial officers' performance appraisal framework, which the commission also approved to ensure that the performance of our officers is measured, and in that case, the performance of all productivity is increased, and that way, at the end of it all, we are able to increase public confidence. There were also issues that were raised by the public on alternative justice system, issues of ADR, why can't you use this? And to promote HAS, the commission developed and implemented an HAS policy in the last financial year. There was also an HAS annual conference in June 2024, which was specifically to be able to continue informing the public of these alternative ways of resolving conflicts. And then proposed, of course, the commission also during the budget, when they were prioritizing the issues of division of the budget, they looked at least they should proposed allocation to fund HAS secretariat so they're able to implement the aspects or the recommendations in the baseline policy that had been. And the last one, cleaning judiciary, you've seen in my colleague's presentation, there are a number of areas where they have also ensured that there is solar system and funds allowing. I know this financial year they were to increase the number of courts under solar or alternative, the clean energy. So this was only affected by the budget cuts that they had in this financial year. But those are the policies that are being promoted. So for the last, when we look at the last 3 financial years, what have we done as a commission with the money? So in the section of enhancing human resource capacity, this is linked with what my colleague has presented, but specifically for the 3 financial years, one was on nomination of judges, the issues of recruitment of judicial officers and judicial staff. Find for the last 3 financial years, we've had 47 judges who were recruited, and out of those, 7 were for the Court of Appeal and 40 for the High Court. So also, when we look at the issues of the judicial officers, the commission appointed 158 judicial officers, and this included, of course, this is around 159 that include the chief registrar. You remember the term of our former chief registrar ended in March this year, that is March 2024. So the commission recruited the current chief registrar, and then other judicial officers. These are magistrates, these are members of tribunals, these are the members of tribunal, magistrates, and other officers, cadis, among others. Then we also recruit 1,825 judicial staff to facilitate operationalization of new court stations. They are the small claims courts, which you've seen, they were established. So to operationalize, of course, you have to ensure that you have the staffing in that place. Then also the commission approved a CHIRA program, which was to ensure that we employ our youth so that even as we go through automation in judiciary, then we are using our youth to digitize the court documents. So what the commission did was to approve that ACHIRA program, and of course also recruited the ACHIRA agents who have been dispatched to various stations, court stations in the country. Then the other area apart from recruitment, there's also the promotion of judicial officers. You remember one of the outcomes that we require as a commission is to make sure that we have a motivated workforce. So this can be done also through promotion of judicial officers, which 272 of them were promoted in the last 3 financial years, and also 1,853 staff. Also, in terms of improved terms and conditions of service for judges and judicial officers, the Commission held consultative engagements, especially on the remunerations or benefits in terms for with SRC. And they had a number of engagements so that to ensure that what kind of revisions are they doing as they continue to review the salary reviews that this SRC has been undertaking. And this led to implementation of the first and the second phase, which was done last financial year. So in the second area of petitions and complaint management, the Commission had and determined around 221 petitions against judges, around 119 complaints against judicial officers. You will note that you will find that these other 119 are a bit fewer. It's supposed to be increased. But the process of complaints against judicial officers, when you talk about magistrates in the court stations, it starts with the office of the CJ, or it starts with the judiciary. So there is an office that deals with that. So whatever is escalated, so that at the end of it all, what looks like it can lead to dismissal, those are the ones that are escalated now to the Commission. And those are the ones that were done by the Commission. Then to enhance ethical, of course, conduct among judges, judicial officers, after development of the Judicial Service Code of Conduct and Ethics Regulations of 2020, which were cassetted, the Commission sensitized. They went through when they were having some court visits around. So they did a lot of sensitization, and currently every judicial officer, every staff is required to sign, so that to just commit to the proper or ethical conduct as we continue dispensing our day-to-day or dispensing justice to the mwananchi over there. So the other area is on infrastructure development. And what the Commission do was to support the judiciary infrastructural development through review of the judiciary budget. So when it's being implemented, when the budget is presented, so the Commission looks at it and to ensure effective prioritization of construction. And some of the aspects or policy pronouncement the Commission has given was the issue of just concentrating on the ongoing projects, the ones which are almost complete, so that at least every financial year you can have complete projects, so that we don't have all the projects at different stage and then we are not using because of the resources which are a bit constrained. So you are not able to do, to be able to complete all the projects at once. So, and then they also regularly review and monitor the status. So on quarterly basis, the judiciary also presents that status of the court's constructions to the Commission, where they review, give feedback, so that we can find ways of enhancing and ensuring that we complete these projects on time within the provided resources. Then the Commission also held engagements with committees of Parliament because of resources, and of course the Executive, the National Treasury, and the other institutions, just on issues of facilitating. How can we be able to get funds or resources for construction of courts? And on the same breath, we held engagements with the 32 county governors, and when the Commission, or when we went around, we were able to have engagements with governors. So a number of governors either able to donate land to the institutions of judiciary, or others even donated some buildings so that they can be able to set up or operationalize a court. All this in the aim of getting at least a court in every sub-county in the country. And so in the area of access to justice, what the Commission has done is to review and approval, of course, of the budgets, the procurement plans, and then facilitated setting up of small claim courts. And this was through recruitment of the 70 resident magistrates, which were done in the last financial year, and they were cassetted as adjudicators, because adjudicators are the ones who hear cases in the small claims courts. Then deployment of ICT within the institution, within the Commission, to ensure there is improvement, and of course in terms of access to the services. Then we held the stakeholder engagements and public outreaches, and where we've talked about, apart from the institution, we've talked in holding engagements with the National Assembly, also hold engagements with the judiciary, the head of court stations, various leadership associations like the Kenya Magistrates and Judges Association, Kenya Judicial Staff Association. So we held a number of meetings with them just to be able to get the feedback. What would the commission, how can we improve? And apart from that, last year we did a whole outreach program where the commission just visited 60 court stations so that we are able to see the conditions of the places, to be able to hear from our internal stakeholders and of course external stakeholders. In those meetings, we met with LSK, we met with the court users committees in various stations, and we also met with the staff. The judges, the judicial officers, and the staff, just to get feedback on what can be improved in terms of administration of justice. And this is where, apart from there, we also went to the 32 counties where we met the county governors. And all this to help us as an institution to identify areas of improvement. Then the other achievement in the area of policy development, we developed 19 policies and guidelines. All these are policies that could help to improve access or improve administration of justice in terms either the staff, either the issues of managing the staff, and also issues of course, undertaking the core mandate. So you'll see some of them like alternative justice system. I've mentioned the policy, gender mainstreaming, training policies, the records management, active case management guidelines. So those are some of the documents that were approved by the commission in the last financial years, the 3 financial years. And lastly, under judicial training, we held a number of around 21 programs to be able to equip judges and judicial officers. Because we've indicated that there are many things that are changing every day. And so there are many thematic areas we ought to ensure that our judges and judicial officers are capacity built to be able to deliver to be able to undertake the role that is being given to them. And some of the areas that they were trained on during those period was issues of ICT, issues of anti-money laundering, the HAS, children and gender mothers, the international labor standards, election disputes resolution debriefs, remember after every election. So we also either the training or debrief so that it can inform the next circle. And many other trainings that were, and also including the colloquiums where judges are able to meet with other judges and have peer review on terms of what they are doing in their courts. We also talk about magistrates colloquiums. So all those are the ones that were undertaken by the commission through our Kenya Judiciary Academy in that period. And then 489 staff attended various trainings during that period. So all this, what we are saying, we implemented. But we implemented all those through the budget that we were given by the government. And the budget that we have there is it was 618 million, that is in 2021-2022, which grew to 896.6 million in 2023-2024. And you can see the respective actual expenditure and ensuring the absorption rate of around 98% in the last financial year. So that is how we spend the finances that of course the Mwananchi gave us during that period. So the next section we are looking at is now going forward, when we are going to the next financial year. So what are the plans? What are we planning to do? And what are we prioritizing? And just as lining, all these are aligned to our mandate or the functions that we've already highlighted earlier. So one is to recruitment, or we're planning to recruit 20 judges, around 50 judicial officers, and 500 staff. And all this, of course, money allowing. Some of them are to already fill the existing gaps, and specifically some are replacements, because of course, as we continue growing, there is either exit of staff, either through retirement, resignation, or any other natural attrition in them. So the Commission will ensure that continue to recruit, and that's why we continuously look for funds so that, of course, it's all aligned. When we have the funds for PE, we are able to recruit so that we can handle that staff gap is quite a high one. When we also planning to review and approve another 15 policies to improve efficiency and effectiveness. And these are the policies that are outlined in our strategic plan as a Commission, which include the Human Resource Master Plan, the alternative dispute resolutions, like diversity policy, among others. Those are some of just a few policies that we will look at as a Commission in the next financial year. The other priority is for complaints, saying how do we enhance processing of complaints and disciplinary cases that are brought before the Commission. So one is to implement the petition and complaints regulations. Currently, we are developing a petition and complaints management regulations, which is actually has been approved by the Commission, so it should be able to go now for Parliament for cassettement, so that it is giving a clear way of a clear process of handling disciplines and complaints within the Judicial Service Commission. So we'll also, in the next financial year, we need also to enhance the capacity of the directorate. We established this directorate in the last financial year, and we need to enhance the capacity by ensuring that we now have staff, and then we have equipment or tools so that they are able to fast track and complete this processing of complaints in a fast manner. And then we also want to set up at least a system to track the process and to fast track the processes of complaints and disciplinary management. The other priority area for funding will be on building capacity. That's why we need money to continue to equip our Kenya Judiciary Academy to ensure that they undertake induction for these recruited judges, judicial officers and staff, to continue training or capacity building the judges, judicial officers and staff on the different areas, the areas we've talked about, and then continuous training on emerging issues, and then also the plan to hold judges and magistrates colloquium, the one that we will be able to work with the funds that have been provided. The Commission is also prioritizing undertaking the issues of stakeholder engagements, and this is one of the routes to ensure during public hearings, want to do also public education and awareness, because that is one of our challenge that we are seeing, that the mwananchi out there has a little, so much in terms of limited information on some of or the mandates of the Commission, and how we can help. So continue to have engagement, and we also go to courts just to continue seeing, to be able to help and give feedback on improvement of the service. Or so that at the end of it all, our aim is to ensure we have efficient and effective judicial system in our country. So the requirements that we require to undertake that, what the DCRJ had mentioned, is 1.9 billion. Although the allocation that we have currently is 820, so we'll still have a shortfall of 1.1 billion. And in this current financial year, the printed estimate was 902, and we were affected, of course, by the budget cuts. So our whole 242 million was reduced, which means there are many other aspects that we had planned for this year, which will now have to move to the next financial year in terms of implementation. So those are the resource requirements and the resource allocation. So lastly, the last section is on the challenges. So from all that we presented, you've seen even the last slide that we've looked at is the issues of funding, of course, insufficient funds for the operations and budget cuts. Because like at the beginning of this year, when you have a very big budget cut of 27% of your budget, that it means it seriously affects all the programs that had been approved at the beginning of the year. And all issues of this fund, what has it affected? Issues of physical infrastructure, and like right now specifically for our Kenya Judiciary Academy, where They just have office space. So this is a training institution, but they don't have a place where they can do the training. They have to do them from one hotel to another hotel. So those are some of the challenges. Otherwise, if we had funds, and that's what we are trying to get resource mobilized for constructing of that academy, and then inadequate staffing levels also, because of when you have less funds, we are not able also to fill the staffing levels of the commission. Currently, we operate at 37% of our capacity as an institution. And that's around 69 officers in the two institutions. That is at the Secretariat and the Kenya Judiciary Academy. The other challenge that we've had is the low level of awareness of the commission mandate. And specifically, it's on the mandate on handling petitions and complaints against judges and judicial officers. This leads to filing of numerous petitions and complaints, and specifically on the areas where the commission has no mandate. Because you find, of course, when you go to court, you'll always have one person will lose a case because it's a petition. At the end of it all, it's either one will get with a favorable judgment, another person will go with an unfavorable judgment. So what we've observed is that every time there are those judgments, the next thing that comes is that a complaint comes to the commission, specifically, and of course, maybe in terms of saying that the judge was, did not do, either the judge or the judicial officers did not do the work that they are supposed to do. And we find a number of them are on the decisional independence of the judge or the judicial officer. So which means we require really, they start low level of awareness, because what we are handling is the gross misconduct. So we need to do a lot of public education so that also the public knows what contains, what is a complaint, what should you complain about. It's not when an officer, because we always have the stages of appeal. When you are not satisfied with this, you are able to just go to appeal to the next level of whether if it was magistrate courts, you can go to the High Court and the others. Then there is a challenge on delay in enactment of some legislations. For example, the tribunal bill, I think has been in that line in Parliament for a very long time. There's also judges' retirement bill that is yet to be enacted. So that affects, of course, when you talk about streamlining the operations of the tribunals. So that is, those are the challenges and our recommendations. Of course, the issues of enhancing of the budget as we continue praying for improvement of our country. We are also thinking of other ways of where can we prioritize and raise resources. There is also the need to fast track enactment of the bills that are before Parliament, and then to allocate, if there is need to allocate at least more funds for public education and awareness programs. So with all those, with a few remarks, thank you so much for listening to me, and I beg to just stop at that point. Thank you. And we really welcome your feedback, your proposals, so that we can be able to enhance our budget proposal as two institutions. What can we do better as an institution? So we welcome your remarks and your proposals. Thank you so much.
Let's give the two presenters a round of applause. Yeah, they have given us a very detailed proposal. They have given us a lot of details that we may need so that we react on the budget for the judiciary, the JSC. At this juncture, I would like to invite comments, reactions, opinions, contributions. We shall have microphones moving around. You only need to raise up your hand. Tell us your name, the institution you come from, and then you raise your question or comment.
Thank you so much, Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary. I'm sorry you didn't get time for introduction, so up to now, I'm not sure of your name, but I've Googled. It's Paul Ndimo. I hope I'm right. I'm sorry for that.
Yes, you're right, I think.
Thank you so much, sir. My name is Bon Makulwal. I work with ELGIA. ELGIA stands for Electoral Law Governing Institute for Africa. I'm also a practicing advocate. Thank you so much for the two presentations from both the directors, finance directors of Judiciary and JC. Same applies to you, though I didn't Google your names because we did not really get your names, but it's fine for the next time. I have a few questions and comment. One, on the issue of absorption rate of 95 that has really reduced for the purposes of exchequer. That is now for the judicial presentation. What was the rate that it really affected your performance in terms of review? How much was your performance affected by that reduction from the exchequer in terms of calculation? What is the rate? I really wanted that to come from in your presentation. My second question is for the two presenters. On your areas, priority areas of funding, you have listed them. Are they listed in an order of any priority? Or from somebody who is reading your presentation, will I take it that you have listed them in order of seriously affected to least affected on areas of priority areas of funding? And because that one should really come out. I work with from a development partner, ELGIA. If now I read your recommendations, would I really take that the least one was the one that was really affected? How will I, if I want now to come and try to support Judiciary or Judicial Service Commission, would I take it that the least in the one in the list was the least affected, the least priority, or how do you want to handle it? I will of the opinion we don't use the word priority areas. We just use areas that are affected, because if you talk of priority, meaning the list should also reflect priority. It should be on the order of priority from your angle, where you sit from as a drafter. Then my third comment and question will be, listening to you, there's a lot of duplication between Judiciary and Judicial Service Commission, apart from maybe on judicial training, especially on your areas of achievements. You almost presented the same document. What do you want to do about that in terms of budget cuts that you are suffering from? Because listening to the two presenters, I will tell you that if you talk of using technology in dispensation of justice, I listened to that from the Judicial Service Commission. I also listened to this from the Judiciary as an achievement. How do you intend to really bring these issues so that the issue of proper utilization without duplicity really comes out on the two important institutions that are before us, the Judiciary and Judicial Service Commission? I leave that for you. And then lastly, on the Judicial Service Commission, your challenges. Yes, you have listed the challenges and the recommendations. But we want to hear challenges that are touches on financial utilization. When you talk of challenges in terms of lack of public sensitization, yes, it's a challenge on the judiciary, but is it really, were you presenting challenges that on the budget? What we want to hear, what are really the challenges that you are facing in terms of budget cuts and how this affects, for example, lack of personnel in the judiciary. When you talk of lack of funds, it's too general. We want to see that one of the challenges the Judicial Service Commission is facing is, for example, low rate of human personnel. That is a real challenge. But when you say the lack of funds, I mean, I think people have heard that several, and it's across the board, it's everywhere. So let us hear your real challenges that come from this lack of finance. That is what we want to hear. Thank you so much. And I think that was a good presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Another comment? Another comment over there?
Thank you very much for two excellent presentations. My name is Karumba from the Nairobi International Financial Center Tribunal. I'm a realist, and I'm just wondering, and I think I want to emphasize the point of how judiciary and the GSC can collaborate to save on costs, on use shared resources to enhance the said goals. And I think the reality is, in my work, sometimes I interact with I know what is happening from a physical space. And even with the budgets and requests, most likely, and given the trend in the last few years, they will not be probably met. So I don't know whether there is a situation where you can budget less, which is more realistic, or it will all end up being facilitated less. But my key point, I like keeping my questions short, is maybe as you also budget, there's also the other aspect of income. Yes, there's a treasury appropriation, and I would have loved to hear some of the innovative financing strategies that you are thinking about. For example, engagement with development partners. I would never suggest increasing fees for court users, and other strategies to enhance your goals. And I know IT is one of them, but maybe a bit of more color around what do you do in the reality that you currently face. Thank you. Sorry. What do we do in the reality we currently face? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Felix Ouma, and I'm coming from the Witness Protection Agency. First, we want to stand on the protocols observed. We want to appreciate the support given to the witness protection matters by judicial officers and judges. The issue we want to echo is about the expansion of ICT witness protection infrastructure in our courts. And as we look at this budget, we are saying that we may need to improve on conferencing and video links, secure witness protection boxes, and voice distortion. Thank you.
Next, if we have another comment, just down here, below me here. Okay.
Good morning. My name is Jacqueline Kate. I'm the Deputy Chair of the Rent Restriction Tribunal, and I want to applaud the judiciary for the effort to digitalize the courts. Indeed, you have managed to actualize Article 159 of the Constitution, and indeed bring life to the STARS blueprint. I have a concern, especially from the Rent Restriction Tribunal where I sit. We find that the courts are not fully digitalized, and in as much as we want to do virtual hearings, it is almost impossible to do so. The nature of clientele that we receive are highly vulnerable because most of them need immediate resolution of their disputes, because you find that some of them have their houses closed, they slept outside, but then again we find that they are not able to access justice from wherever they are because of Probably they are poor, they cannot afford. So my request is that if you are able to visit some of these tribunals and establish the circumstances under which we work in, so that you make it possible for some of those complainants to be able to access virtual hearings. I think that would really help. I have one concern. You've said that your budget is always reduced by half each time you present it. What are the reasons given to you for the reduction? Is it that you do not have enough justifications for your budget? Because I believe if the budget is cut down, then you are not able to fully discharge your mandate as a judiciary, and that means that the public is not able to enjoy is not able to enjoy the fruits provided for under Article 159 of the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you move the mic, I also want to invite comments from participants who are participating online. They can as well set their comments on our platforms, and we'll be able to respond to their queries as we wait for him. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm Gilbert Wayongo. I want to appreciate the JSC and the judiciary as a whole for the construction of new courts, especially in Mashinani. But I have a concern and a recommendation. With the budget cuts now, we realize that the judiciary is now suffering and it's unable to meet some of its goals. But my question is, why is it that the judiciary cannot consider, for example, redirecting some of the resources? You realize a court is being built in Mekatilili or Rwenzori, where it's serving like 1,000 people, a population, and this as 5-story building. While a court like Milimani Commercial Court, that is a very, very busy court in Kenya, judicial officers are sharing a chamber, judicial staff cannot have a space to sit, and the JSC is constructing a court which is a 5-story building, where at the end of the day, you realize there is only one judge in that building, 3 judicial officers. They are utilizing, for example, 1st floor, 2nd floor, while 3rd and 4th floor and the 5th floor is empty. And a court like Milimani, that's a factory, is lacking space. I really wish to recommend that the JSC, as you recommend, as much as you are embracing Article 48 of the Constitution, where we have access to justice, I really recommend that if it's possible, you can make a construction of a building that is maybe 1 or 2-story building. Then other funds can be used to construct more courts, because sometimes it's a shame that this is the headquarters, but most of the courts within Nairobi are in a very bad status, and judicial officers and judicial staff and judges are not even willing to serve in Nairobi because of the poor status of the buildings in Nairobi. That's my recommendation, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think we can have the last question there, then we first have a response, then we have another second round of comments.
All right, thank you. My name is Angelica Mecha. I work with LSK, and I really appreciate the invite for today. Mine is just a contribution, noting that as a stakeholder, bringing in our members as judicial officers, I know they cut across. So when we hear complaints against judicial officers, it hits all. So we want to enable a situation where we are able to critique the the JSC, and we know we have our representatives there, and then we feel the output of those complaints, because most of our complaints are channeled through the bar bench committees. And it's a really positive thing that has been perpetrated over the years. We feel best if our recommendations through the bar bench are able to be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will ask our facilitators to comment on the issues that have been raised. Welcome, Honorable DCRJ.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, MC. And our guests, we really appreciate your comments and your feedback. Really, this is the purpose of this engagement. We are very open, as I indicated at the beginning, on behalf of the Chief Registrar, that we are here to receive, open feedback so that there are areas of improvement, including even in the manner of presentation. I remember last year we had a comment about how we present our report, and I think that was factored in. So I'm saying that just to also ride on the very first question by our colleague from LGR. I'll answer a few questions, but my colleagues who are here, Director of Finance from both the Judiciary and JSC, will also take some of the questions. So you asked a number of questions about performance affected by absorption. I think that I'll leave that to the Director of Finance, both for Judiciary and for JSC. I think on the issue of the duplication, there was a question about the challenges, specific challenges on financial utilization. That again, the Director will respond. But I think one of the purposes of this engagement is for us to also just broadly let you know, as Kenyans, what are the challenges that we face. So we not only speak about the specific challenge that relates to finances, but rather broadly, what is it? Because when you look at a challenge, not necessarily financial, you probably can see a correlation in the performance, because we are also reporting on performance. So it is important that we also bring other aspects. But I also get the point, and we get it, that it is good for us to be very specific when we are talking about an issue like, inadequate finance or a problem of personnel. What specifically are we looking at? So that comment is taken. Bwana Karoba, thank you very much for your pragmatism and your comment on how we can, synergize the issue of our resources. I will tell you, in terms of having innovative approaches to getting resources, we have a very robust campaign on resource mobilization. In fact, we have a whole unit that is called the Resource Mobilization Unit that engages with development partners so that we are able to try and bridge the gap. And we have actually seen some very positive outcome from that, because we realize that we will not be able to get adequate funding from government. And in fact, LGA is one of the partners that has helped us in some of the areas. When you look at things like electoral justice, we have got funding that has come from the World Bank to support some of our programs. We have the European Union that is currently funding a very big project, which we call the PLEAD program, in a number of counties across the country. So we have got quite a few programs that we have engaged with development partners to help us and to be able to supplement the kind of budget that we have. If you are able to push and help us increase fees, I think that would be another way. You said that's not a way to do it, but maybe in some of the areas, some fees have remained unchanged for so many years. Some of the fees we charge is like 200 shillings, 500 shillings, maybe, but we are not very keen on that really as an institution, because we recognize that we also have people who are not able to pay fees, and we even have a provision actually in the law where you can have a pauper who can apply to file a case without having paid fees. Bwana Ouma, Witness Protection, thank you very much. We work very closely with the Witness Protection Agency, and as you would be aware, we have opened a number of our courts just to be able to support the Witness Protection Agency. And I think as we meet under the auspices of the National Council on the Administration of Justice, we can lobby for more resources so that some of the justice challenges are able to be addressed together. So issues like the witness protection boxes, ICT equipment, I think that can be done. Some things have been done already, but I believe there is room for more improvement as we work on that. Kate from the Rent Restriction Tribunal, thank you for your comments. We will make sure that we pay a visit to see what happens at the Rent Restriction Tribunal, because we are keen to move together. We are very keen to move together as the judiciary and the tribunals that fall under the judiciary, because ICT for us is high priority. So anything that will help access to justice for us is really high priority. The Director of Finance will speak to the issue of the reduction of the budget, the presentation that we make, and why we do not get the full budget. The issue of constructions, very important, Gilbert. Thank you for raising that. We actually even have our Director of Building Services in this gathering. He may be able to say one or two things on that. But your observation, particularly on Nairobi, is very correct. What we are currently doing, in fact, is to seek resources on how we can expand our courts in Nairobi. What has happened in the last maybe 14, 15 years is because we realized there is such a gap, there is such an infrastructure gap across the entire country that when we started to look at access to justice, the questions that we're asking is, Nairobi has some courts, yes, which is fine. But when you look at a place like Isiolo, there was no court. When you look at a place like Lamu, there was no court. So we had to look at and say, so where do we start? So we actually started off from quite a number of places. And as we speak today, we are very happy to report that we have high courts in 46 out of the 47 counties. That is something that was not there 10 years ago. We are moving very fast to ensure that we have got courts in every sub-county. But as you've correctly pointed out, as we have done that, we've realized Nairobi is actually in a terrible, terrible state. And so we are now focusing our energies to see how do we support Nairobi. We have recently opened a court in Dagoretti, and that is going to help to start decongesting some of the caseload that we have from Milimani. We are also looking at opening a court in Kasarani, in Mihango, and the other one is, where is it? Is it Huruma? Huruma. So that way we will start to decentralize and also to have access to justice for populations that are in that side. So we are very actively thinking about how we can not only build the capacity of Milimani, but also just to decongest so that one, we have access to justice for the people on that side, but we also reduce the pressure that is there here in Nairobi. Angelica, thank you for your comments. Bar bench, yes, that is a very important forum that has been created to have that exchange of ideas, and we are very open, really, as a court. I believe in each of the courts, we actually have a bar bench that takes in suggestions. We also have court user committees, really, that are broader than just the bar bench. We have got others, and so suggestions can be taken on there. And then again, as you very correctly observed, we have representation at the highest level. That is the JSC of not one, but two representatives that can bring issues if those things need to be escalated. I think with those a few responses, let me ask my colleague, Director Finance Judiciary and Director Finance from JSC to be able to respond to the other matters. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So we'll have a second round of questions. So it's okay. Let them answer first and then we'll get to you.
Thank you very much, DCRJ. My name is Beatrice Kamau, Director Finance Judiciary, and apologies for not introducing ourselves earlier. I think we were conscious we were late, so we started on the business. Thank you very much for the question on absorption, and specifically you want to know how much of that was caused by lack of exchequer. I think the hardest hit really was on the development and the recurrent, so proportionately the development takes a higher proportion because already it's grossly underfunded. And the problem with this is that we actually crossed over with pending bills. So overall, what was caused by lack of exchequer is about 4%, but that again eats into this year's budget. Because for instance, I'll tell you for the development, we even procured laptops, and we had also certificates for contractors that we were not able to pay. So we have equipment we have acquired, and as we are speaking, we are not able to settle that bill. That has been made worse by now the current budget cuts, where development suffered 50%. And overall, we suffered a budget cut of 1.9 billion. Then, of course, added to that is the pending bills of 800 million. So you can already see the deficit we then ended up with in this financial year. But thank you very much for that concern, and we take it positively. Areas of underfunding, we take your comment on the reason we call them priority is because they are still priority areas, but we are unable actually to fund them fully, or some actually remain unfunded. In terms of listing, they are not in any order. And when we are seeking for funding, let's say from the various development partners, we do then reprioritize depending on the areas of funding that development partner is willing to assist in. So we again tweak the list. We take your comment very positively on the duplication in achievements. I think we need to improve on that so that we also don't tire the audience. But I can assure you, in terms of utilization of resources, there is no duplication. And in fact, the two institutions have different votes, and that is legislated. So we are not duplicating in terms of funds utilization, but probably it's the way the presentations were captured. I think the budgeting more, less, because we don't seem to be getting what we budget for. It's a catch-22, because we can't stop saying what we require. So in terms of our requirements, we believe we will still have to state what we feel we require to deliver our mandate. Whether we are funded half or 75, I think that will still continue. But over time, you realize that they are not necessarily, the resource requirement is not necessarily the same, especially where we have gained certain cost-saving measures, leveraging on things like technology. And even as we move along, technology, for instance, infrastructure, the cost may start going down, because once we are able to install infrastructure in all our courts, we expect that in the long term to have gains in terms of cost saving. I think the other issue about the mismatch between our court premises and caseload, I think I'll leave it to my colleague, Deputy Director, Building Services, to answer that. Why we are always funded half. Again, I would want to say this is maybe a Kenyan problem because of the state of our economy. As much as we still earn for more, we are also cognizant of how the economy has been performing. That is not an excuse for the National Treasury, and they are here. I know they can also tell us why they don't give us all the resources, and the National Assembly are also represented. But we are cognizant of how the economy is performing, but we wish that we can also be considered even within the reduced basket, if we can also be considered, especially for our really critical areas. I think the other ones have been answered by our DCRJ.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate the feedback that we've received. Just like my colleague, apologies so much for not, I think, introducing ourselves at the beginning. My name is Rebecca Kiplakat, Director of Finance and Administration at Judicial Service Commission. And I think a number of the questions, concerns that were raised have been answered by Deputy Chief Registrar and my colleague Beatrice. Maybe just to add a few in terms of the first question that was on the performance in terms of the percentage. I think for the commission, we were at 98%, and I know the 2%, basically the area, I know what caused that under absorption in that area was some, I think it was basically some of the equipment that we had ordered somewhere, and the supply had a challenge, and towards the end of the financial year, that's when we knew that they couldn't supply. So at the end of it all, it becomes, it's nothing that we had not paid, but it had already been planned for. So they caused us to have that small under absorption. But generally, at least we are grateful. We were able to move to pay for all the supplies that were done within the financial year as a commission, and we didn't have the pending bills. Priority areas, I think that's a good feedback in terms of just how do we organize. That is the way it is. It's we haven't put any order of priority, but basically it's linked to our as a commission, it's linked to our functions and our mandate. So just putting in, that's why you see the first one you talked about recruitment, which if you look at our function, that's the first function there. So that is specifically how we've aligned them. But the way my colleague has said is that in terms of when we are bringing, like when we are going to parliament towards the end, that's when we reorganize now and look at it. If it is to any partner, we reorganize depending on the situation at that level. But we take that feedback very positively and see how we can rename it. Maybe, yeah, the way you said, you can rename even the word. That area of duplication, I think let me just add that if you looked at our mandate as a commission, it's supposed to enhance the issues of transparency and accountability of the judiciary. So we are like in a factory where you have a process. So there is the input, there is the processing, there is the output. So all of us, judiciary and JSC, are within that chain link. So you easily have the same. If you look at the thematic areas, they will be the same. If you look at the HR, the JSC does the process. That means you do the advertisement. Of course, the plan starts from the judiciary, the plan of what they require. It comes to the commission. You now do the other process of advertising, doing the recruitment process. So you need funds to ensure that the processes are undertaken from the beginning to the end. Once we have appointed, we now hand over to them. And that is when now they have the funding of either the PE, if it is the judicial officers. For the judges, it goes to the treasury, because treasury are the ones who pay the charges. But it will go, the other attendant costs now goes to the judiciary. And that's why the thematic areas were almost the same in terms of, but every person plays their own role within that chain. So it's the same thing that is entering at the beginning and goes out at the end. But there are different roles that you are playing within this chain as a commission and as a judiciary. So we'll just relook at our wording so that we are able to speak to the role that we are doing during that chain specifically. And yes, challenges, we take the feedback that we should be more of the financial. I think we indicated that one of the challenges is lack of funds, and we say the lack of funds causes A, B, C, D. I think from the proposals that we're getting here, we should specifically say, like, one of the challenges we indicated there was inadequate staffing levels, which means it affects, because when you don't have enough staffing levels in the commission, which we say, we have like that 7% of authorized establishment. We talked about physical infrastructure and among others. So we take that feedback positively of repackaging for future pre-packaging so that they come out much more clearer. Yes, there's also the proposal of collaboration between judiciary and JSC so that we can be cost effective. We want to confirm that we really collaborate. For example, this public hearing, you can see that these two institutions just using the same resources to undertake the same activity. We have a number of things like some of the ICT systems that we use. We share the resources. There are some systems that we use from the judiciary, so we don't have a system, so that we don't have duplicate in terms of the system. So the only ones we only do are the unique ones. So that is one of the ways we've used to ensure that we've reduced the cost or even use the resources, the resources that we have. So we collaborate a lot with the judiciary, work together. Appearing like when we have engagements, the elaborate engagements with parliament, with wherever, we don't do as different institutions, we do one engagement. That way, this becomes more cost effective. And a number of other areas where we work together as the two institutions. I think, lastly, let me comment on, apart from my colleague on construction, we've talked about the sizing of the courts, especially when we talk about the laws, the old courts, where some counties have bigger courts, have whatever. So I want just to speak to what the commission has done. And in the last financial, if you look at it, we have actually indicated that we get prototypes, because we need to see how to get the sizes uniform. So judiciary has prepared prototypes which have been approved by the commission, so that the prototypes are speaking to the sizes of the courts that can be constructed in which area, depending on the cost law, depending on the area and all that. So that is the aspect of the policy, the oversight that the commission has done, just to make sure that those prototypes are done of different sizes. If we have the small ones, the mid ones, and of course the big ones that can be done within the city for that case. So with that, I think I've answered what we needed from the commission. Thank you so much.
Before we have another round of questions, let me just make a general comment on the budget. We've been seeking to have, and for a long time, we've been making a case for having a percentile of the national budget to be able to support the work of the judiciary. There is a report that was done by the late Mutula Kilonzo, a very comprehensive report that assessed, the needs of the judiciary, looked across different jurisdictions, and it was found that a percentile of 2.5 would be reasonable to support a judiciary in a country, and that is the average that we are actually talking about even for other jurisdictions. And let me just explain what that means in terms of an economy. You see, we've talked here about challenges, for example, on personnel. If you look at, let's take Europe, for example. Europe, of course, is a very developed continent, and, their economy is at another level. But if you look at the average number of judges per capita, some are much higher, others are low, but the average is 18 judges to a population of 100,000. 18 judges to a population of 100,000. Now, if you are to take that per capita to 50 million, those who are good in math, how many judges and judicial officers do you need for a population such as ours in Kenya? 18 to 100,000. How many do you need? Let's say Europe is very advanced, so for us we can even do with 100. We can even do with 10 judicial officers or judges to 100,000. You will find if you are to go with the European average, you will be talking about 9,000 judges or judicial officers to service the population that we have in Kenya. Now, that number, of course, is very high for many reasons, the budget, whatever. If you are to get even a half of that, the issues we are talking about, delay in cases, the systemic challenges would be drastically reduced. Now, how many judges and judicial officers do we have in Kenya for 50 million? We have less than 1,000. We have 300 judges. We have 500, I think, and 50 judicial officers. So we are talking about total less than 1,000 for a population of 50 million. So even if you are to go much lower than the average I'm giving you, it means some of the challenges we are talking about are challenges that are extremely difficult to resolve because these are human beings. Some of the courts, when you go to those courts, you find a magistrate has got a cause list in the morning of 40 matters. How are they expected to finish all that? And, so the averages we have that we're dealing with are really high. And that is a function of budget. Secondly, if you look at the question of infrastructure that Gilbert talked about, we are guaranteed percentile, of the budget. Certain infrastructural issues we are talking about, then will be things of the past because we will be expanding in tandem with the size of the economy. Because the economy then is what determines what sort of numbers are we looking at in terms of personnel, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of automation. So that speaks very clearly to the question of capacity. That is, a big deal even in this conversation. I just want to put that in context so that we get to understand what really are we dealing with here when we talk about infrastructure challenges, personnel, delay in cases, automation, not having adequate laptops for personnel and things like those. But that said, of course, we are working with the best that we have at the moment. So we could have another round of questions.
Down here.
A microphone in. Yes, how are you? My name is Veronica. I'm a consultant in sales. My company is called Carissa Mosau. So I've just come from the other budget meeting, and there were some issues that I had in Dindi Nyoro raise, saying that 67% is what we're able to collect. So in sales, what we do is that when we can't go deep, we go wide in terms of collection, in terms of spreading the net. So there's an opportunity here that if judiciary brings this up, it will solve two problems. First of all, it will solve the femicide. Then secondly, it will solve the issue of budget. Judiciary is always crying. We have so many cases. We have not enough judges, which is a valid point, right? So as a consultant, one of the things is that we look for new sources of income. So one of the sources of income that I was going to propose is alimony. Alimony. Alimony is where anyone who fathers a child is made to pay for that child, and the money is cut from their salary or from their business through KRA. And that cost of processing that process will earn the judiciary a certain amount of money, and even they can set up a special court that will hear alimony issues determined by DNA. When you go to the West, you find Judge Judy, paternity courts. This is what they're deciding on. It's time us as Africa, we start moving towards that direction. Because you find out that the reason that the women are going through femicide or gender-based violence is because of a source of income to take care of a child, which the man sired, or in other cases, even women have had children and they don't have anyone to take care of them. So if the judiciary went to Parliament and said, this is how we have come up of a way to increase judges, because you'll agree with me, and to sort the issue of femicide and gender-based violence. And we want 30%, we don't want 50%. 30% of every salaried employer. There are very many people. Yeah? This now will bring some order and work together with the police. And the police will have their processing fee for finding these people. And then 30% goes to the women. And the judiciary can say, look, we don't want a lot of money. We want 3,000 every time that money is collected. We have a population of 50,000 Kenyans. More than, and the men, if we were to look at it, that will probably be a very easy calculation. Let's just say we're just looking for 20 million. 20 million multiplied by 3,000. That is enough money to fund the judges. It's enough money to bring order into that system. I won't dwell too much on that, but I hear there's no discussion on paternity. There's no discussion on alimony. And we can sort the gender-based violence issues with something that simple and accelerate the court cases from being heard. And that can come from the judiciary, Martha Koome, yes, and the police, Douglas Kanja, to say this is the solution we have come up in sorting gender-based violence, and the police get their percentage for collection, which they could say, if judiciary is taking 3,000, us will take only 2,000 monthly. That is enough even to set up homes, halfway homes, for women who are being battered, right? So that now we become proactive. Secondly, it's the issue of odious debts. The issue of odious debts, and why does this come in? Allow me to finish. This comes in that Kenyans are complaining that there's corruption, that we don't trust you. We don't have a problem of paying taxes. We have a problem of making sure that when the taxes are collected, they go to the right place. There's just a simple issue. By setting a precedence. Look, 9.3, or is it 9.5 trillion. And this will set a great example to the international community. 9.3 trillion. We are paying as Kenyans and is contributing to 80% of debt collection of our money, where that money could be going correctly, instead of the judiciary coming to look for alimony, could be going correctly to the right places. So all we say is that we have paid that debt to this point. We have stood for you as a guarantor. Continue with the other debt, you free up. We start paying 30%, and that is a decision that lies solely on the judiciary. But the judiciary want to pay this way, this way, this way, this way. But when it comes to impeaching Gachagua, 2 weeks, we have a solution. Yeah? We need to look into the real issues that are affecting the real Wananchi and sort them, so that you can get confidence, not just with the people, but with the international community. And there's facts that has been brought to you that is undisputable, that we're paying for. How would you feel paying for a debt? I had a friend of mine, she opened a business for her boyfriend, and the business went down, and the boyfriend went, and she was left paying that debt. It was very painful. There is nothing as bad as paying for a debt that you have not seen and you've not touched that man. So I want you to feel that pain of the Kenyan. We are paying for something. We can't get our services. We can't get our roads. The counties don't have money. Yet, if this odious debt can be reduced, we'll only be paying 30% out of 80% of the debt. Thank you.
Another comment?
Yeah. Okay. My name is Kennedy Werema, and I have some comments here, and also at the same time a question. Allow me to read on side of the Constitution from the civil society. Now, allow me to read the Constitution on chapter number, on the issue of the judiciary starts from the Constitution on chapter number, I think chapter number 159 of the Constitution. But my emphasis, I want to re-emphasize on chapter number 172. 172, this is article 172 on the function of the Judicial Service Commission. So allow me to read. The Judicial Service Commission shall promote and facilitate the independence and accountability of the judiciary and the efficient, effective, and transparent administration of justice. And the first thing, shall recommend to the President persons for the appointment. Persons for the appointments and judges. Second, review and make recommendations on the conditions of services. The first one is judges and judicial officers other than other remuneration and the staff of the judiciary. Part C is appoint, receive, complaint against, investigate, and remove from office, and otherwise disciplinary magistrates, other judicial officers, and other staff of the judiciary, in the manner prescribed by an act of parliament. The next point is prepare and implement programs for the continuing education and training of judges and judicial officers, and advise the national government on improving the efficiency of the administration of justice. The second thing is that in the performance of its functions, this is now Judicial Service Commission, shall competitiveness and transparent process of appointment of judicial officers and other staff of judiciary and promotion of gender equality. Now, lastly is on article number 175. So my questions will come on the two articles, each and every article, this article 172 and article 173. So let me read the article, the last article now. 173, about judicial fund. there is established a fund to be known as the Judicial Service Fund. This fund shall be administered by the Chief Magistrate of the Judiciary. The fund shall be used for administrative expenses of the judiciary and such other purposes may be necessary for the discharge of the function of the judiciary. Number 3, each financial year, the Chief Registrar shall prepare estimates of expenditure for the following year and submit them to the National Assembly for approval.
Kindly ask the question.
Allow me, then there is the fourth one. On approval of the estimates by the National Assembly, the expenditure of the judiciary shall be charged on the consolidated fund, and the fund shall be paid directly into the judiciary fund. Then lastly, Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for the regulation of the fund. Now I want to make it clear here. The first question concerning about the judiciary, because I've read the 2 articles of the Constitution. And from my understanding, judiciary, the function of the judiciary, the main function of judiciary is interpretation and application of the law. But why, I'm asking a question, why is it that this judiciary, their budgetary allocation is submitted straight from the national, because the disbursement is done from the National Treasury? The little money you have been given by the government, why are you not utilizing it to an extent that we are seeing things that are happening in terms of decision making in most of the cases? The way Madam has said, most of the cases you rush over very fast and make decisions that goes contrary or goes with the government. Another question. Why is there some cases you are taking too long? You're taking time on such cases. You are buying time in terms of making decisions on this. You are taking like the cases that are supposed to be answered in within maybe 1 month or 1 week is answered maybe after 6 months. What is going on? And yet the Treasury is responsible in paying those charges, because that is what you say. That is a statement I have heard from you, because the Treasury is the one who's pay the judges and everything. Now, why are you taking time? So in short, I'm saying time consuming in terms of making your decision. Number two, that is number one. Number one, I will say misappropriate of funds. You misappropriate your funds. The little you have from the government, you cannot utilize it well to an extent that now we see a significant where we can count that our money has been worked in these areas. Another good thing that I appreciate on the judiciary section, I criticize at the same time I give credit where it deserves. Another thing I can say I give you a credit is in terms of infrastructure. We call it digitization infrastructure. Digitization is part of infrastructure on technology, because technology has advanced. There's advancement of technology. Because it has advanced, we've decided to install many things in the code, of which is good. But now, sometimes we as a young generations, we are asking ourselves, if you leave office and we get inside the office, because the technology is going on advancing, not increasing. The technology is advancing on a daily basis. Many things has been, on a daily basis, there must be technology advancement. Somebody must innovate something that is working on this side, working on this side. We leave the analog when you go to the digitized way. So that one I can really give you credit, because the younger generation, the Gen Z people, the younger generation are anxious to see technology advancing in the courts, of which is good, to an extent that the online judgment, the issues that are being discussed on online can go very well. Even if you are in the United States, decisions are made on your laptop, then you can access everything on your laptop. That is digitalization.
Keep it short. Keep it short.
I think my question is 2 now. The third question.
How many minutes? 1 minute?
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. Don't worry. The third question is, some of these judges, because there's a case that we saw. A judge is practicing law, or a judge, somebody is a lawyer or somebody. Then at the end of the day, these are the culprits of grabbing lands. The way the cases here, I see your statement. The Judicial Service Commission is trying to go outside that particular Gazette notice that was given out. It was written in the, is it in Nation? The cases about grabbing of land in Thika. So one thing I need to say that is that the Constitution applies to everyone. That one should be practiced. Removal should be done immediately, because you don't have that. You are the people who interpret the law and apply this particular law. Then you go contrary to the law. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say that let us work within the ambit of the law, because each and every arm is very important in terms of deliberating issues. At the end of the day, we go to the parliament. The parliament is now answerable.
Kindly wind up. We have heard you.
Okay. The parliament is now.
The questions have been taken, and your comment is also taken, because we might go on and on and on. I think we can have another person make a comment. Japheth.
Okay, thank you.
Many thanks. My name is Andrita Moronge from the HIV and AIDS Tribunal, the only tribunal in the whole world that deals with issues of violations and rights of people living with HIV. Just the other day, 2 months ago, we had Sierra Leone coming to benchmark so that they can also establish one like the one we have in Kenya. Well, I would like to appreciate the milestones first that the judiciary has so far achieved. Never even in my wildest dreams would I have thought we'd have SGBV courts, or even going back to my very, very home county at the Tharaka Nithi. So that's quite good work. Now, as I have said, there are so many issues in the tribunal. The tribunal is one of those that transited to the judiciary by dint of Articles 159.1, 169.1, that the tribunals move under the judiciary and run and be managed and operated under the judiciary. The issues in the tribunal are many, but I will only highlight 3. First, we serve a very vulnerable group. Before the virtual courts, and I would really thank the judiciary for zero rating the tribunal. We file matters for free, I can tell you. Even then, our clients are not able to access the court. Why? Because of financial constraints. Before, we had them travel using the buses from all over the country, because the tribunal is only premised at Nairobi, to come and have their cases heard by the tribunal. But now, due to the virtual courts, they can access some facilities in the Huduma centers, and that is what I really want to talk about, because the issues or the matters heard by the tribunal are very sensitive because of the privacy issues and confidentiality issues. We need to decentralize or have sub-registries in the counties. Even when we are talking about virtual courts, they are not still able to log in and follow proceedings. Why? Because they don't have a gadget. They are not even aware of how they do it. They will need facilitation. If you send them to the cyber cafes, they will have their rights more violated. So we need to, even as you go machinani with the ADJ and the rest of the small claim courts, we need to think about also sub-registry for the PLHIV, that is people living with HIV, they can be able to access. I have been in that tribunal and I've seen the way they struggle
even to express themselves when they are called upon to, give evidence. We have had issues or some instances where the members have to stop and let them, collect themselves because of the emotional and psychological trauma, so that they can be able to proceed with the evidence. That court really needs psychosocial support. Maybe a unit, I don't know, the other time we asked, we were told there is a unit for the judiciary, but when we try to refer them there, they talk about we'll have our privacy, exposed. The other issue is on pro bono. I want to thank, some of the lawyers who have come out to take our matters and support our clients on pro bono basis. And this, the Office of Chief Registrar, I can tell you it's for free. We don't give them anything. We don't even print for them. They do it pro bono, completely pro bono. And that's where we were thinking if we could have the HIV tribunal lawyers scheme, supported by the judiciary, if it is possible. I'm not sure, because of the budgetary cuts, that would be very good. Because in 2019, 2020, matters could not move. I heard someone saying matters were taking long. But if you look at the clientele under the HIV tribunal, you'll understand sometimes matters can take like even more than 2 years and defeat the reason why tribunals were established. Why? Because the client is not able to articulate herself or himself on the issues that have brought them to the tribunal. They need support, that is a pro bono, lawyers, maybe scheme to be established or operationalized at the tribunal to assist them. That's all I would like to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we leave it at that because we may have so many comments. We want to add our comments there so that those are responded to because of time. Then we wind it up. Thank you very much, Honorable CIJ.
Thank you very much again, our dear friends, for your comments. Let me just respond, and then any of my colleagues here at the high table who have got any comments can also add that. Veronica, thank you very much for your comments and your passion. I think we share a passion on SGBV matters. You've had a comment about how we have actually set up courts and we are very robustly going across the country. The Chief Justice, this is a pet subject for her. We are engaging development partners to see how do we have courts across the country that can deal with the matters SGBV. So on that, we share. We've had your comments on creative ways of getting income. I think those that we can will take up. There are other matters, though, that I think really the legislature is best placed to address, because some of these matters, very good thoughts, are really matters of laws that need to be changed so that there's a basis upon which some decisions can then be made. The court stands as an impartial arbiter. The court, the system of court that we have, matters are brought to court. The court cannot initiate matters on its own and then make a decision. The court waits, the parties bring matters to court, and then the court acts as a referee to be able to determine those matters. So that also, I think, helps us to all appreciate the position where the court stands. Kennedy, thank you for your questions. You're very passionate about funding of the judiciary. We wish you can take that campaign out there and say, please, judiciary needs to be funded very seriously. Now, you talked about issues about delays again. I had tried to address that a bit. And whereas we don't defend delays, in fact, the Chief Justice has given a directive that matters, all judges, judicial officers should work to ensure that matters are dealt with within 3 years of the matters being filed. And judicial officers and judges are working very hard to ensure that is done. But as I explained earlier on, the issue of capacity is a very big deal. When you have 800 judges and judicial officers handling 500,000 freshly filed cases every year, then you have to look at the issue of quick turnaround of cases and the effect. So yes, we acknowledge sometimes there are delays, and that is something that we are working very hard to deal with, but also have at the back of your mind the data that I have given you here, the issues I have told you about capacity. Where, of course, the matter goes way out of line, then there are also mechanisms for dealing with that kind. If it's a disciplinary issue, then there are mechanisms of dealing with that. You mentioned in passing at the end about what was in the Nation yesterday, about judges and how the land matter was handled. I think in fairness to the judiciary and to the Judicial Service Commission, this is a matter that has been brought to the Judicial Service Commission. The matter is being processed according to the law. So when it appears, in the media, and I'm seeing our media people have left, you put us in a place of disadvantage, because the way the story was given, it was given in a particular slant, and yet there was no opportunity for the other side to respond. So when it comes as a headline news that the Supreme Court will not have quorum, you have already predetermined what is going to happen. Yet the truth is, this is a matter that is 32 years old. That is when the case was filed. It has moved from the High Court, it went to the Court of Appeal, it went to the Supreme Court. So in all fairness, there are two sides of the story. So the way it was presented makes it look like the court was complicit in this matter, and yet the complaint, so to speak, has not even been processed. It's been received by the commission, it is being looked at, but that side of the story has not come out. So I think let's also be fair as we look at different aspects. It's not that we don't want to be accountable, but let's also be fair so that the stories are also balanced. Some of the judges that are being referred to retired. They have already left the system, So it's an old story, very important, yes, very great public interest, but let it be balanced so that we are able to hear the end of it properly. And Rita, you talk about, yes, the tribunal, and we appreciate the work that, is being done by the tribunal. And yes, as you say, a lot has been done to try and support that. Your comment is taken about the sub-registries, and I think working with the Registrar of Tribunals, we'll see how that maybe can be taken forward. And the issue of pro bono, I think some creative engagement with the Law Society can also help. Because again, as you correctly point out, budget issues are very serious. We have a very serious deficit, even dealing with the normal mainstream matters in court, engaging lawyers. So I think we can find creative ways to deal with LSK to see how can they continue to contribute in this very important matter. I will leave it there and ask any of my colleagues on the high table if there's any comment you'd like to make, so that we start to wind up this meeting.
Thank you very much. We have a question from one of our online participants by the name Good Luck. And the question is, we need to be told on the revenue, that is fines generated for the last financial year, and also spending of the allocated budget in terms of recurrent. I wish to report that for the last financial year, we collected fees and fines to the tune of 2.6 billion. But however, we do remit all revenue direct to the exchequer. So we are then funded out of the consolidated funds as envisaged in law. So we do not spend at source, and the chief registrar is a collector of revenue, and therefore we remit as required. I think the other questions have been answered. Maybe just to add on the delays from our passionate Gen Z participant. If you notice, I reported that we reduced our case backlog by 10%. However, that is like a drop in the ocean, because when you look at the case clearance, if we are at 99, whatever, for us to actually address case backlog, we must always be looking at more than 100% case clearance rate. That again is not achievable 100% because of the same capacity issues we are talking about in terms of personnel. So what is happening is that the cases that are being filed are more than what we can dispense because of the challenges that we have highlighted. It's not because we are not working. Our judges and JOs are burning the midnight oil. I can tell you a lot of them have gotten unwell because of the workload. So I think we can only urge to be given more resources, to recruit more judges. And you heard from our chief registrar, the per capita judge population ratio, we are doing very badly. So if we can get more resources to add on the personnel, then we'll be able actually to address the case backlog and be at par with the cases that are coming in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we shall not invite further comments. We shall wind it up there. I would like to invite Honorable Jerry Thuku to give us a vote of thanks. And after her, we shall have Mase Megwe to give us a prayer for tea. We are serving tea after this. My name is John Waweru. I was the MC of the day. I work with the Judiciary Directorate of Finance. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. It has been a long morning. Welcome to the world of being a judicial officer, a magistrate, which is what I am. We sit the way you have sat for most of the day. I have one task, and let me do it with excellence and vigor. I wish to thank the leadership of the judiciary. I'm giving a vote of thanks. We thank the leadership of the judiciary and the JSC. We especially would like to thank the DCRJ for joining us. We thank the Directorate of Finance and the rest of their team. They are here. We thank them very much. If you've never been involved in a budget making process, you have no idea the work they put in. They don't just meet at this venue. They continually support those of us in the court stations to ensure that we are in line, that every coin that is given to us by Treasury is properly and well spent. We thank them very much. We thank those who work in the headquarters who are here. Thank you very much for your support. We wish to thank especially Beatrice and Rebecca, as well as Mr. Wanyama, who represent the leadership of the judiciary in terms of the directorates. All of you who came, who woke up this morning and purpose to be here. There are some of you who are compelled to come. Thank you for answering those summons and those directions. There are those of you who came because this is where you work. There are those of you who came just to support. We thank you for your time. We would have been here talking to chairs and just having a small discussion amongst ourselves. But thank you very much for coming. We wish to thank all the judiciary staff who are present. Thank you so much for coming, for sitting in, and for your participation. We had invited members of our court user committees. If you are here and you're a member of our court user committee, thank you very, very, very much for coming. We thank our interpreters. I can see Mary is online and Eunice as well. We thank the ICT team and the social media team. We also want to thank the venue. We thank all those who work within KICC who made it possible. I've not been here. In fact, as I walked in, I think the last time I was here was during Music Festival. Those of you who went to high schools in Kenya and did Music Festival, as we came for nationals, that's the last time I was here. So I'm very impressed to see that it's actually a very nice venue. Allow me just to say it's a very nice venue. Bring us again, Judiciary. We are happy to come and be in this auspicious place. And lastly, thank you very much, Mr. Waweru. Thank you for guiding us and for leading us. Ms. Mercy, if you can come and pray for us so that we can refresh ourselves. Thank you.
Kindly, if you could be all upstanding for a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, once again we come before you with gratitude in our hearts, oh God. We thank you for a great time that you have had, for the rich discussions that you have had, oh God, all for the good of this great institution, judiciary, oh God. We give you honor, we give you thanks. And even as we take a cup of tea that is provided to us, oh God, may you bless it, may you sanctify it, oh Lord, that may be good and be beneficial to our bodies, and that you may also provide to those who do not have anything, oh God. We thank you, we honor you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray and give thanks. Amen.
So tea is serving just out here. When you walk out behind this side, you can walk through these staircases, the staircases in front. Yes, thank you very much.